the old rancher spotted the boy before he understood what he was looking at. At first it was only a shape against the barbed wire fence, small and slumped, trembling like a wounded animal trying to stay quiet. The rancher slowed his steps, boots scraping dry dirt, and the boy jerked at the sound as if expecting another blow. For a moment the rancher just stared, fighting the rising thrum in his chest. It had been years since anything on this land pulled him back toward memory with such force. He swallowed hard, stepped closer, and saw a rope cutting deep into the boy's wrists. "Hey," the rancher said, voice low. "Can you hear me?" The boy lifted his head but didn't answer. His eyes looked too big for his face, wide with fear, like he couldn't decide whether to trust or bite. The rancher raised his hands slowly, palms out, the way he used to when calming colts. The wind tugged at the loose strands of his hair, but the boy didn't notice anything except him. "I'm gonna cut you loose," the rancher said. "You understand?" The boy shook once, a tiny motion, more flinch than nod. The rancher reached for his pocketknife, flipped the blade open, and stepped close enough to smell dirt and dried sweat clinging to the boy's thin shirt. The ropes were tight enough to dig blood. He sliced one, then the other, the fibers snapping sharp in the quiet. The boy sagged forward, catching himself against the fence post with a quick gasp. "It's all right," the rancher murmured. "You're free now. Nobody's gonna hurt you." But even as he said it, a chill crawled up his spine. The fence, the knots, the way the boy had been propped up like someone wanted him to be found, none of it felt random. Something in the scene scratched at the back of the rancher's mind, teasing an old wound he wasn't ready to reopen. The boy tried to stand, failed, and nearly collapsed. The rancher caught him under the arms. The boy's skin felt cold despite the heat. When the rancher lifted him, the boy grabbed the fabric of his shirt with trembling fingers, clinging with a sudden, desperate force. "Easy," the rancher said. "You're safe. I'm just getting you away from this fence." The boy whispered something too soft to hear. The rancher leaned closer. "What was that?" The boy's lips barely moved. Don't put me back." "I won't," the rancher said. "I ain't that kind of man." The boy stared at him, studying his face with a strange intensity, as though searching for something familiar. The rancher felt exposed under that gaze, like the boy saw more than he wanted him to. A flicker of memory flashed behind his ribs, another small voice, another child gripping his shirt, another day when he arrived too late. The rancher tightened his jaw and pushed the memory down where it belonged. "You got a name?" he asked. The boy only blinked. The rancher tried again, gentler this time. "If you tell me your name, I can help you." The boy turned his head away. "All right," the rancher sighed. "We'll deal with that later." He scanned the ground for tracks, but the dirt was scuffed into chaos. Whoever tied the boy here wanted their trail muddy. The rancher lifted the boy again, guiding him away from the fence. With each step, he felt the old ache in his shoulder flare, but he kept moving, steady and sure. "You're shaking," he said. The boy clung tighter. "Cold?" the rancher asked. "No," the boy whispered. "Scared." The rancher felt something twist inside him. "You're not alone now." For a long moment, neither spoke. The rancher adjusted his grip, feeling the boy's heartbeat flutter against his chest, faint as a trapped bird. The land stretched wide around them, quiet except for the soft rasp of their footsteps. As they walked, the rancher looked back at the fence. The boy had been left there on purpose. And whoever did it wasn't far. He kept walking anyway. The boy didn't let go. The boy didn't let go, and the rancher felt the grip tighten as they moved across the yard toward the cabin. The dirt crunched under their feet, and the fading light cast long shadows from the barn, stretching them out like dark fingers reaching for the boy. The rancher kept his steps slow so the kid wouldn't stumble again. The boy's breath hitched every few seconds, shallow and uneven, as though he expected someone to yank him backward at any moment. "You tryin' to choke me from the side," the rancher said, trying to lighten the weight pressing on both of them. The boy didn't smile. "Don't leave me." "I ain't leaving," the rancher said. Just walking. You're safe. Promise, the boy whispered. I said you're safe, the rancher repeated, though the words didn't feel strong enough. He shifted his arm around the boy's back, holding him upright. The boy's small fingers curled into the rancher's shirt like they were hooked there. They reached the cabin steps. The rancher paused, feeling the boy's whole body tense. It's just a house, he said. Don't leave me, the boy repeated, voice trembling. I'm right beside you. The rancher nudged the door open with his boot. Come on in. The boy hesitated at the doorway. His eyes scanned the dim room as though checking for shadows with teeth. The rancher waited, letting him decide. Finally, the boy leaned into him and stepped inside. The cabin smelled of old wood and dust. A single lantern lit the table, casting a warm circle that didn't quite push the darkness away from the corners. The rancher guided the boy to a chair, but the kid refused to sit. You can sit, the rancher said. The boy shook his head. If I sit, you'll go. I won't. You will. The boy's voice cracked. Everyone goes. The rancher felt something shift inside him. He crouched down so he was eye level with the boy. Look at me. The boy hesitated, then did. I'm not leaving. The boy's lip quivered. You don't know what happens if I'm alone. What happens? The rancher asked. The boy swallowed. They come back. Who? The boy shook his head. Don't make me say it. He stepped forward and clung to the rancher again, burying his face in the rough fabric of his shirt. Don't leave me. Please don't leave me. The rancher held him steady, feeling the fear radiating off him like heat. I'm staying right here, he said softly. You're all right now. The boy's breathing slowed for a moment, then hitched again. The rancher guided him to the table and sat with him, letting the boy keep a grip on his sleeve. Outside, the wind shifted, brushing against the house with a low moan that made the boy flinch. It's just wind, the rancher said. The boy didn't look convinced. How do you know? I've heard worse. The rancher leaned back. What's your name? The boy's eyes flicked away. Doesn't matter. Matters to me. No, the boy whispered. If I say it, they'll hear. Who's they? The boy pressed his lips tight. All right, the rancher said, softening his tone. Then tell me this. You got folks somewhere? The boy shook his head. Anyone who'll come looking? No, then the boy squeezed the rancher's arm harder. Only them. The rancher felt a pulse of anger under his ribs. Well, they're not touching you again, he said. Not while you're under my roof. The boy studied him for a long moment. You mean that? I mean every word. The boy's eyes glistened. Don't leave me tonight. I won't, the rancher said. You'll sleep inside. Door locked. I'll sleep right there in the chair. The boy leaned closer. If I wake up and you're gone. I won't be. The rancher placed a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. You're safe. The boy exhaled, trembling but calmer now. He stayed pressed close, as if letting go would turn the rancher to dust. Outside, something creaked in the dark. The boy froze. But the rancher didn't move his arm. And the boy didn't let go. The boy didn't let go, and the rancher kept his arm steady while the shadows in the cabin shifted like they were listening. The lantern flickered, brushing light over the boy's thin face. The rancher could see dirt smeared across his cheek, dried blood near his temple, and a bruise blooming beneath one eye. He needed tending, and the rancher wasn't about to let fear keep him from it. Sit for me, he said quietly. Just for a minute. I'll stay right here. The boy hesitated, his fingers locked onto the rancher's sleeve. You promise? I'm not going anywhere. The boy slowly lowered himself into the chair, still clutching fabric. The rancher knelt beside him and reached for the small tin box he kept under the table. The metal scraped softly as he pulled it open. The boy flinched. It's just bandages, the rancher said. Nothing that'll hurt. The boy nodded once, quick and uncertain. The rancher tore a strip of cloth, dipped it in water from a cup, and gently pressed it to the boy's cheek. The boy sucked in a breath but didn't pull away. That hurt? The rancher asked. A little. Doing good, the rancher murmured. Just cleaning you up. The boy's eyes moved constantly, scanning the corners of the room as though expecting someone to step out of them. When the rancher shifted to check the boy's wrist, the child yanked his hand back. No, the boy whispered. I need to see it, the rancher said. You're bleeding. No, the boy repeated, shaking now. The rancher set the cloth down and leaned closer. Look at me. The boy didn't. Look. Slowly, the boy lifted his eyes. The rancher softened his voice. I'm not here to hurt you. I won't tie you. I won't touch you without telling you. But I need to help you. The boy swallowed hard. You won't tie me again? I never tied you in the first place. The boy blinked at him. Someone did. And it wasn't me, the rancher said. Let me see your wrist. The boy hesitated, then slowly extended his arm. Rope burns ringed the skin, red and raw. The rancher felt his jaw tighten. They did this on purpose, he muttered. The boy's voice trembled. They said it would make me quiet. Did it? The boy shook his head. I cried. The rancher pressed the cloth gently to the wound. Crying's human. They didn't like it. The rancher paused, studying the boy's face. Something in the angle of the jaw, the curve of the brow, something tugged at him like a fishing hook buried deep. You look familiar, he murmured without meaning to say it out loud. The boy's eyes widened. No, I don't. You do, the rancher said. I can't place it, but, he stopped, searching memory. Feels like I've seen your face a long time ago. The boy pulled his hand back, gripping the chair. No, you didn't. You sure about that? I'm sure, the boy whispered, and the way he said it made the rancher's skin prickle. The boy wasn't only scared. He was hiding something. The rancher leaned back on his heels. All right. We'll talk about it later. I don't want to talk about it, the boy said quickly. I figured. The rancher stood and set the bandage aside. You hungry? The boy shook his head. If I eat, they'll smell it. Smell it? Who? The boy pressed his lips together again. All right, the rancher sighed. Not pushing you. The lantern flickered harder now, as though the air had thickened. The rancher felt the weight of memory pressing against him, the same hollow ache that had filled him years ago when he stared at an empty bed and a silent room. The boy's frightened breathing echoed too close to that night. The rancher sat beside him. Why'd they leave you at my fence? The boy shook his head. Was it a message? The boy shivered but didn't answer. The rancher leaned closer. Did they say something? Anything? The boy's voice came out thin. They said you'd understand. A cold ripple went through the rancher. Understand what? He whispered. That you remember, the boy said. Even if you don't want to. The rancher froze. And the boy held his stare like someone who knew the weight inside him better than he should. The boy held his stare like someone who knew the weight inside the rancher better than he should, and the rancher felt the room tilt just enough to unsettle him. The lantern crackled. The shadows along the cabin walls thickened, moving slightly with every flicker, as though listening from the corners. The rancher didn't like the feeling crawling up his spine. What do you mean I remember? He asked, his voice low. The boy shook his head hard. I shouldn't have said it. You said it for a reason. No. Forget it. I can't forget something I don't understand. The boy's breathing sped up. Please. Don't make me talk about them. The rancher leaned back, trying to pull his own heartbeat into something steady. All right. Not now. We'll come back to it later. The boy nodded, still clutching the edge of the table. Silence wrapped around them for a moment. Then the rancher heard it, soft, slow, deliberate. A footstep in the dirt outside the cabin. His body went rigid. The boy's head snapped up. They came. Quiet, the rancher whispered. Another footstep. Then another. Slow. Testing. Close enough to stir dust beneath the window. The rancher dropped his hand to the boy's shoulder. Listen to me, he murmured. We're gonna stay low. The boy nodded, eyes wide. The rancher blew out the lantern. Darkness swallowed the room instantly. The boy gasped, but the rancher's grip kept him still. Stay close, the rancher whispered. I am. Don't move unless I tell you. I won't. They crouched beneath the table, backs pressed to the wall. The rancher could feel the boy shaking. He placed a firm hand on the kid's back, grounding him. Outside, the footsteps paused. Then came a slow scrape, someone dragging a boot against dirt, just outside the door. The rancher's jaw tightened. Who followed you here? He whispered. The boy's breath trembled. I don't know. You sure about that? I don't know, the boy insisted. I just ran. I ran and didn't look. The scrape stopped. Silence dropped heavy and complete. The rancher shifted just enough to peek through a knothole in the wooden planks. He saw nothing but a slice of darkness and the glint of moonlight against metal. Someone was standing still. Watching the door. The rancher whispered, he's right outside. The boy pressed closer to him. Don't let them take me. They're not taking you, the rancher said. A faint creak sounded overhead, the porch boards giving under weight. Someone stepped onto the wooden stoop. The rancher felt the air tighten around them. How did they find you? He asked quietly. The boy swallowed. I don't know. Think. The boy shook his head violently. I can't. One more step. Then the soft click of something metallic, maybe a buckle, maybe a weapon. The rancher whispered, Why'd you say I've been here before? The boy's voice cracked. Because you have. When? Don't ask me, the boy pleaded. Was it the fence? The boy shut his eyes. Please don't make me talk. The rancher held in a curse. A shadow passed across the knothole, blocking the light for a split second. The person outside was inches away now. A whisper drifted through the wood, chilling enough to freeze the rancher's breath. Boy, the voice drawled. I know you're in there. The boy clamped a hand over his own mouth. The rancher whispered, He knows your voice? The boy nodded. Who is he? The boy's reply was barely audible. One of them. How many are there? The boy's hand shook. Enough. The rancher steadied him. We're not opening that door. Outside, the voice spoke again, softer now, almost coaxing. Come out, kid. You know how this works. Don't make it worse. The boy buried his face into the rancher's side. The rancher whispered, If he tries the door, we move to the back. The boy clung to him. Will we make it? We'll do what we have to. Another step on the porch. A slow, dragging breath from the stranger. Then silence again. The rancher held still, tense as coiled wire. And outside, the footsteps in the dirt began circling the cabin. The footsteps in the dirt circled the cabin, slow and deliberate, like the stranger was tracing a boundary. The rancher kept the boy pressed close, feeling every small tremor running through him. The boards overhead creaked again, and the rancher knew the stranger hadn't left the porch. He was waiting. Listening. Testing the cabin's breath. Stay still, the rancher whispered. The boy nodded, barely. His fingers dug into the rancher's sleeve. Outside, the footsteps stopped right in front of the door. The stranger exhaled long and low, a sound too calm for a man who didn't mean trouble. The rancher raised a finger to his lips, warning the boy to stay silent. The wood of the door creaked under the pressure of a hand resting against it. The stranger's voice slid through the cracks. "You know he ain't yours." The boy stiffened beside the rancher. The rancher didn't answer. "I said," the stranger continued, "he ain't yours." The rancher whispered into the boy's ear. "Don't react." The boy swallowed hard and nodded. The stranger scratched something against the door, slow strokes, like carving letters. The sound burrowed through the quiet. The rancher felt the boy's breath catch. "Please," the boy whispered. "Don't open it." "I'm not opening anything," the rancher said. The stranger chuckled softly. "You hidin' down there with him? That's sweet. Real sweet." The rancher clenched his jaw. "What do you want?" he called back, voice steady. "You know what I want," the stranger said. "Hand him over." The rancher gripped the boy's shoulder. "Not happening. That boy ain't meant for you. He's marked." The stranger tapped the door with something metal. "You seen it. You know what it means." The rancher didn't answer. He didn't need to. The pause on the other side told him the stranger took his silence as understanding. "You're getting yourself into something you can't clean up," the stranger said. "Smart man like you ought to know better." The rancher moved slightly, placing himself between the boy and the door. "He was tied to my fence. That was the point." The stranger chuckled again. "That's where he belongs." The boy shook his head, trembling harder now. "No," he whispered. "No, no." The rancher hushed him. "You're safe." "You keep saying that," the stranger said through the door. "But you can't keep him safe. You ain't the man you were." The boy's eyes lifted, fear shining through them. "Don't open," he begged again. "I won't," the rancher whispered. The stranger dragged his fingers down the wood. "Last chance. Give him here. Door stays on its hinges. You stay breathing. He don't get hurt more than he already is." "He's not going with you," the rancher said. A long moment of silence followed. Heavy. Expectant. Then the stranger leaned close enough that his next words slid through the gap at the bottom of the door. "Then I hope you're ready for the rest of us." The rancher heard footsteps retreat, slow and taunting, then crunch off into the darkness. The porch boards creaked one last time before the silence settled fully again. The boy clung tighter. "They're coming back." "I know," the rancher said. "What are we gonna do?" "We'll handle it." The rancher moved from beneath the table, guiding the boy out with him. "Let me see what he carved." "No," the boy whispered. "Don't look." "I have to." The rancher lit the lantern and held it toward the door. Carved deep into the wood were uneven letters, scratched with something sharp. A word he hadn't seen in decades. A name tied to old scars. The boy grabbed his arm. "Don't say it." The rancher stared at the carved letters, throat tight. "Why'd they put this on my door?" "Because of me," the boy said, voice breaking. The rancher turned to him slowly. "What did they do to you?" The boy's eyes filled. "They said if I ran, they'd find me. And if you helped me," he couldn't finish. The rancher knelt, steadying him. "They're not taking you. You can't stop them." "I'll try damn hard." The boy shook with fear. "Don't open that door again. Ever." The rancher pulled him close. "I won't." Outside, the night listened. And the door held the stranger's message like a warning waiting to wake. The door held the stranger's message like a warning waiting to wake, and the rancher felt its weight settle over the cabin like a storm cloud. The boy stayed pressed against him, trembling in small, sharp bursts. The rancher guided him away from the door and toward the table again, wanting distance from those carved letters, from the memory they carried with them. "Sit," the rancher said quietly. The boy shook his head. "I don't want to stay near the door." "We're not. Just sit for a minute." The boy hesitated, then lowered himself into the chair, eyes fixed on the wood as though expecting the letters to start bleeding. The rancher pulled the lantern closer, its glow softening the edges of the room. When he turned back to the boy, he saw the child clutching his sleeve again, knuckles white. "They marked you before they left you," the rancher said. The boy stared at the floor. "Don't talk about it. I saw the burns on your wrist." "That's different." "What's different about it?" The boy swallowed. "The mark's not there." "What mark?" The boy's eyes darted to his arm, then back to the rancher. "Please don't make me show it. If I'm gonna keep you safe, I need to know what I'm dealing with." "You can't keep me safe," the boy whispered. "Try me." The boy hesitated, then slowly lifted his left sleeve. The fabric slid up to reveal a symbol burned deep into his skin, still red at the edges, shaped like a crooked circle with 3 lines slashing through it. The rancher's breath left him. He hadn't seen that brand in decades. It belonged to a group the town whispered about but never named out loud, men who took justice into their own hands, men who believed fear made order. Outlaws, vigilantes, ghosts wearing human clothes. They had disbanded, or so he'd been told. But the brand on the boy's arm said otherwise. The rancher reached out, stopping just before touching the skin. "They did this recently?" The boy nodded. "Last night." "Why?" "They said I owed them." "Owed them what?" "Silence," the boy whispered. "And obedience." The rancher clenched his jaw. "What did you disobey?" "I ran." "From what?" "From them." The boy looked up, eyes filling. "From what they wanted me to become." The rancher felt anger simmer low and hot. "You're just a kid." "They don't care," the boy said. "They don't care about anything except the mark." The rancher leaned back, trying to find breath. "They left you on my fence for a reason." "What was it?" "They said you'd understand." "Understand what?" The boy shook his head. "Please don't make me say it." "Say it," the rancher insisted. The boy pressed his sleeve back down with shaking hands. "They said you used to know their rules. They said you used to ride with them." The rancher's stomach dropped. "That's not true." "They said you were one of them." "I wasn't," the rancher snapped, but the boy flinched, and he softened his voice. "Listen to me. I never rode with those men. Never." "But they said." "They lied." The rancher steadied himself. "And I'm guessing they lied to you about a whole lot more." The boy's lips trembled. "Why would they mark me if they didn't want me?" "Because they wanted to scare you." "They did," the boy whispered. The rancher pulled in a slow breath. "The symbol, it's old. Dangerous. But it doesn't own you." The boy looked at him with a hopeless expression. "It does. It means I belong to them." "No," the rancher said firmly. "You belong to nobody." "But they said." "I don't give a damn what they said." The rancher leaned closer, gripping the boy's shoulder. "You're sitting in my cabin, not theirs. You're under my roof. And that means something." Outside, the wind shifted again, scraping the porch. The boy's voice shrank to a whisper. "They'll come back. I know. They'll take me. Not without going through me." The boy blinked hard. "Why would you fight for me?" The rancher looked at him, really looked, and felt that old wound throb in his chest. "Because someone should have fought for my kid," he said quietly. "And I won't fail twice." The boy's breath broke. And the rancher tightened his hold as the night pressed in around them. The night pressed in around them, thick and heavy, and the rancher felt the boy's breathing slow only slightly under his hand. The cabin walls seemed to lean closer, like they too listened for footsteps returning. The rancher knew sitting still would only make the fear worse, for both of them. He stood slowly. "Come with me," he said. The boy stiffened. "Where?" "Not far. Just behind the barn." "No," the boy whispered. Please. They'll see us. They won't. Not right now. They're regrouping, same as we are. The boy's grip tightened on the rancher's shirt. Don't make me go out there. I'm not making you, the rancher said softly. But I need to show you something. And I think you need to see it too. The boy's eyes flicked toward the door as if expecting it to burst inward. You'll stay with me? Every step. The boy hesitated, then nodded. The rancher took a lantern and shielded the flame with his hand, keeping the light low. He opened the door carefully, checking the yard. Nothing moved except a loose scrap of hay rolling across the ground. The boy stayed pressed against him, small and trembling but determined not to be left behind. Stay close, the rancher murmured. I am. They crossed the yard together. The barn loomed ahead, its old boards darkened by years of weather and silence. Behind it, the earth dipped into a small hollow that held the well, an old, stone-lined pit that hadn't drawn water in decades. The rancher felt his chest tighten as they approached. He hadn't stood near this place in years. He hadn't let himself. The boy tugged his sleeve. We should go back. In a minute. I don't like this place. I know, the rancher said. Neither do I. The boy stared up at him. Then why are we here? The rancher raised the lantern. The dim light spilled over the crumbled stones. The opening yawned like a mouth waiting for a name to fall inside it. The boy shivered. Because this place remembers things, the rancher said. Things I've tried to forget. The boy clung tighter. I don't want to be here. It's all right, the rancher whispered. You're safe. The boy's breathing hitched. I've seen this before. The rancher froze. What do you mean? The boy stepped closer to the well, eyes fixed on the dark. This place. I remember it. You've never been here, the rancher said. The boy shook his head slowly. Yes. I have. When? The boy swallowed. A long time ago. Before they took me. The rancher felt the air leave his lungs. Who brought you here? The boy pressed his hands to his temples. I don't know. I can't see their faces. Only shadows. The rancher steadied him. Easy. Don't push yourself. The boy pointed to the stones. There was someone else here. A girl. She cried. She kept calling for someone. The rancher felt his heart clamp tight. What girl? I don't know. The boy's voice broke. But she kept calling for her papa. The rancher staggered back a step, gripping the rim of the well. The memory slammed into him before he could fight it, the empty yard, the frantic search, the terrible quiet that followed. The well had swallowed the last echo of his daughter's voice. He had avoided it ever since. How do you know that? The rancher whispered. The boy wrapped his arms around himself. I hear things sometimes. Places talk to me. Not with words. With feelings. The rancher stared at him. This place showed you her? The boy looked up, eyes shining in the lantern light. It showed me what it remembers. And it remembers you too. The rancher felt a tremor run through him. Why would they bring you here? So you'd find me, the boy whispered. So you'd remember. The rancher knelt in front of him, gripping his shoulders. You listen to me. You're not here to replace anything. You're not here for them to use. I know, the boy said weakly. But this place, it hurts. Yeah, the rancher said, voice raw. It hurts me too. The wind shifted, carrying a low moan through the hollow. The boy stepped close to him. Can we go back inside now? The rancher nodded slowly, lantern shaking in his hand. Yes, he said. This place remembers enough for both of us. They turned away together, leaving the well trembling with its old ghosts. They turned away together, leaving the well trembling with its old ghosts, but the rancher felt the memories clinging to him like dust. The boy stayed pressed to his side, his steps quick and uneven as they crossed back toward the cabin. The lantern's glow bobbed against the dirt, throwing their shadows long behind them. The rancher kept his pace slow, steady, grounding, even as the weight of the past dragged at his ribs. "You all right?" he asked quietly. The boy nodded, though his breath said otherwise. "I don't want to go near that place again." "You won't," the rancher said. "You did good." The boy stopped, tugging his sleeve. "Why'd you take me there?" "I needed to know if they were using old places again." He looked toward the barn, feeling the chill settle deeper. "And I needed to know what they'd shown you." The boy stared up at him, searching his face. "You already knew the well had memories." "Yeah," the rancher admitted. "But I didn't know it still reached for people." "It reached for me," the boy whispered. The rancher nodded. "I saw." They stepped onto the cabin porch. The rancher scanned the tree line, then listened. Nothing but the low hum of night insects. No footsteps. No creeping presence. But he didn't relax. Not fully. He pushed the cabin door open and let the boy slip inside. The boy stood in the middle of the room, arms wrapped around himself, eyes restless. "Are they gonna come tonight?" "Wouldn't surprise me." "Then we should run," the boy said quickly. The rancher shook his head. "Running won't help." "It helped before." "For how long?" The boy's silence was answer enough. The rancher set the lantern down. "You need rest." "No," the boy insisted. "If I sleep, they'll take me. They always take me when I'm tired." "They're not taking you from my house." "You keep saying that." The boy's voice cracked. "You can't promise that." The rancher crouched in front of him. "I can promise I'll do everything in my power. And I've still got a little power left." The boy shook his head. "I shouldn't be here." "Why not?" "Because they sent me to you." "I know." "Then why keep me?" The boy's eyes filled. "Why are you trying so hard to save me?" The rancher felt something twist inside him. "Because you deserve saving." "No," the boy whispered. "I don't." "You do." "You think I'm someone else," the boy said. "Someone you lost." The rancher froze. "That's not true." "It is," the boy whispered. "You look at me like you're hoping I'll say something that'll make the past hurt less." The rancher swallowed hard. "Maybe. Doesn't change what I'm doing." The boy stepped back. "If they want me, you should let me go. If I leave now, they might leave you alone. I'm not letting you walk into their hands. It's better than you getting hurt." "No," the rancher said, voice firm. "I'm not losing another child to them. Not again." The boy stared at him like the words punched air out of him. "You think I'm a child worth saving?" "Yeah," the rancher said. "I do." The boy shook his head, trembling. "You don't even know my name." "You'll tell me when you're ready." "Maybe I don't want to." "That's fine." The boy blinked, thrown. "You're not mad?" "I'm not here to force anything out of you." The boy stepped closer. "Then why did they tell me to find you?" The rancher exhaled slowly. "Because they wanted to break me. And using a kid was the easiest way." The boy's voice shrank. "But I came anyway." "I know. I could have run the other way." "You should have." "But I didn't," the boy whispered. The rancher met his eyes. "Why not?" The boy's voice trembled. "Because someone told me there was a man out here who saved children. And I wanted to believe them. Even if it hurt. Even if it was a lie. I wanted to believe someone like that was real." The rancher felt the breath leave him. "You came looking for me," he said, barely above a whisper. The boy nodded, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. "I wouldn't run from you." The rancher stood slowly, throat tight. "Good," he said. "Because I won't run from you either." Outside, a branch snapped in the darkness. The rancher moved between the boy and the door. And the boy stayed right behind him. The boy stayed right behind him, and the rancher kept his body angled toward the door as the echo of that snapped branch faded into the dark. The cabin seemed to breathe with them, walls tightening, floorboards settling under a weight heavier than footsteps. The rancher listened hard, eyes narrowed, hand instinctively brushing the table where he knew he'd left the old drawer half open. "Stay back," he murmured. "I am," the boy whispered. Another sound rolled through the yard, quieter this time, a shift of earth and the faint scuff of boots trying not to be heard. Not one pair. Several. The rancher felt the air change. They weren't dealing with a lone scout anymore. "They're here," the boy breathed. "I know," the rancher said. A low voice drifted through the night, too far to make out words but close enough to taste intent. The rancher stepped to the table, opened the drawer, and stared at the object he hadn't touched in years. The old metal badge lay under a thin layer of dust, the symbol faint but still recognizable. His chest tightened. The boy noticed it immediately. "What's that?" "Nothing you need to worry about." "You're lying." The rancher wiped the dust from the badge with his sleeve, revealing the tarnished shine beneath. "This belonged to a man I used to be." "Were you a sheriff?" the boy whispered. "No," the rancher said, slipping the badge into his pocket. "But I had authority once. Enough that people listened." The boy stared at him. "Will they listen tonight?" "They might," the rancher said, though doubt pricked at him. "Depends who's out there." The porch groaned under new weight. More boots. He counted at least 3. Maybe more. "Why are they doing this?" the boy whispered. "Because fear makes fools brave." The boy grabbed his sleeve again, voice cracking. "Don't go out there." "I'm not opening that door," the rancher said. "But I'm not hiding either." He blew out the lantern so the cabin fell into darkness, leaving only faint moonlight leaking through the cracks. The boy pressed against him, trembling. The rancher guided him behind the table and crouched there beside him. Outside, voices murmured. "Can you hear what they're saying?" the boy asked. "Not yet." Another voice rose, sharper, angrier. "What about now?" the boy whispered. "They're arguing," the rancher said. "Someone's telling someone else to stay quiet." "That means they're scared," the boy said hopefully. "Not scared enough," the rancher murmured. A fist pounded on the door, hard enough to rattle the hinges. The boy flinched violently. "Don't answer." "I'm not." The pounding came again, followed by a voice the rancher recognized, the stranger from earlier. "Old man," he called. "We know you're awake." The rancher exhaled slowly, controlling the fire rising in his chest. "You gonna talk to me like a coward behind that door?" the stranger taunted. The boy shook. "Don't let him in." "I won't," the rancher said. "Open up," the stranger demanded. "We just want the boy." The rancher raised his voice. "You're not getting him." Whispers outside. Tension shifting. A gun being cocked. The boy whimpered. "They'll kill you." "Not tonight." "How do you know?" "Because I know these men," the rancher said. "They hide behind fear, not bullets." The boy stared at him in the darkness. "They're scared of you?" "They were once." "Why?" "Because of what I did when I wore this." The rancher tapped the badge in his pocket. Another pound hit the door. "Last chance," the stranger barked. "You're outnumbered," another voice added. The rancher stood, pulling himself up slowly. "No," he said loudly. "You are." He stepped forward and kicked the bottom of the door hard enough that dust fell from the rafters. The voices outside fell silent. "You forgot something," the rancher called. "I'm not alone in this house." A few mocking laughs started outside but faded quickly when he spoke again. "And I'm not the one who should be afraid of the past." Quiet. Then footsteps shuffled back. The rancher felt the shift, the moment when bravado cracked and uncertainty crawled in. The boy whispered, "Did it work?" "For tonight," the rancher said softly. He didn't know if it was true. But outside, the men retreated into the darkness. And for one brief moment, the shadows stayed quiet. For one brief moment, the shadows stayed quiet, and the rancher let the silence stretch long enough to feel its edges. The boy pressed against the table, breathing fast, waiting for the next blow on the door. None came. Only the distant shuffle of boots retreating into the trees. The rancher exhaled through his nose, slow and controlled, though the tension still pulsed under his skin. "Are they gone?" the boy whispered. "For now. They'll come back." "Yes," the rancher said. "But not tonight." The boy crawled out from behind the table, clinging to the rancher's arm. "How did you stop them?" "I didn't stop anything. They backed off because they're not ready." "For what?" "To face me," the rancher said quietly. The boy blinked up at him. "Why are they scared of you?" The rancher didn't answer at first. His eyes drifted toward the door, then toward the drawer where the badge had been. Some men thrive on fear. But they forget fear can turn on them. The boy frowned. "I don't understand." "You don't need to," the rancher said, softening. "You just need to rest." "I can't rest," the boy murmured. "Not when they're out there." The rancher crouched. "You're exhausted. I can see it. If I close my eyes." "I'll be here," the rancher said. "Right here." The boy's hands trembled. "Will you stay in the same room?" "Yes." "All night?" "All night." The boy hesitated, then nodded. The rancher picked up the lantern but didn't light it. He wanted the darkness to stay thick, to hide them from any eyes that might linger outside. He guided the boy to the cot in the corner. The boy sat down stiffly, as though the mattress itself might betray him. The rancher pulled a thin blanket over his legs. "You'll be safe," the rancher repeated. "You keep saying that," the boy whispered. "I want to believe you." "You should." "Because you used to protect people?" the boy asked. The rancher stiffened. "Who told you that?" "No one. But I can feel it." The rancher shook his head. "Feeling ain't fact." "But it's something," the boy said. "It's nothing," the rancher murmured, though he didn't sound convinced. The boy studied him in the dark. "When you kicked the door, they listened." The rancher didn't reply. He pulled the chair closer to the cot and sat down heavily. For a long moment, neither spoke. The night hummed outside, low and distant. Then the boy's voice broke the silence. "They think you're dangerous." "I'm not dangerous," the rancher said softly. "I'm tired." The boy lay down slowly, curling toward the rancher. "Tired people can still be dangerous." The rancher huffed a small breath. "Get some sleep." The boy closed his eyes, though his hand slipped out from under the blanket and reached for the rancher's arm. The rancher let the boy rest his fingers there. The trembling eased slowly. Minutes passed. Maybe more. The night stretched around them, and the boy's breathing softened into a hesitant rhythm. The rancher watched the rise and fall of his chest, thinking of another small chest he used to watch, another night full of shadows, another door he hadn't reached in time. He swallowed hard. The boy murmured something in his sleep. A word. The rancher leaned closer to hear it. "Papa," the boy whispered faintly, then sank deeper into dreaming. The rancher froze, breath caught in his throat. He stared at the boy, unsure if he'd heard right or if his mind had twisted the sound into something familiar. He reached out, brushing the boy's hair away from his forehead, gentle and unsure. Outside, a night bird called. The wind shifted. The cabin settled. The rancher leaned back in the chair, the old badge heavy in his pocket like a stone pulling him into memories he'd buried deep. He listened to the quiet, to the boy's breathing, to the land holding itself still. The shadows stayed quiet. But the rancher knew quiet wasn't the same as safe. He stayed awake, eyes fixed on the door, waiting for the next move. Waiting for dawn. Waiting for whatever came next. He stayed awake waiting for dawn, waiting for whatever came next, but when the first pale streaks of morning slipped through the cracks in the boards, the rancher finally let his shoulders loosen. The boy was still curled on the cot, one hand limp where it had fallen away from the rancher's arm sometime in the night. The fear lines around his eyes had softened, though they hadn't disappeared. The rancher watched him a moment longer, then stood slowly, his joints stiff with the weight of the night. The cabin was cold. Quiet. The men hadn't returned, yet. He stepped to the stove, cleared a few old pans, and set water to warm. The rusted kettle hissed low. The boy stirred at the sound. "Morning," the rancher said softly. The boy blinked awake, confused at first, then startled as memory rushed back. "You stayed," he whispered. "Told you I would." The boy sat up slowly, rubbing his eyes. "Is it safe?" "Safe enough to eat," the rancher said. "Come on. You need something in your stomach." The boy hesitated, glancing toward the door. "If they smell the food." "They won't," the rancher said, more certain than he felt. "And even if they do, I'm not letting you starve." The boy slid off the cot and padded toward the table, keeping close to the rancher like a shadow learning to walk. The rancher placed 2 tin plates on the worn wood surface and spooned out heat-softened beans and a scrap of dried meat. Simple food, but warm. Familiar. Human. The boy stared at it like he didn't know if it was real. "You can eat," the rancher said. "Go on." The boy's fingers trembled as he picked up the spoon. "You're eating too, right?" "I will." So I'm not eating alone." "No," the rancher said quietly. "Not alone." They sat. The boy took a small bite, cautious at first, then a second, a touch faster. Hunger cracked through fear the way light cracks through shutters. The rancher watched him, remembering another small figure at a table years ago, swinging her legs, laughing at nothing. He forced himself back into the present. The boy looked up. "Why are you staring?" "Just making sure you're all right." The boy frowned. "You look sad." The rancher shrugged. "Been a long night." The boy hesitated, then reached out and nudged the rancher's untouched plate toward him. "You should eat," he said. "You didn't sleep." The rancher felt a strange pinch in his chest. "All right," he murmured, picking up his spoon. "We'll eat together." Minutes passed quietly. Outside, the land began to wake, birds chirping, wind brushing through dry grass, the normal sounds of morning. But underneath the calm, the rancher felt unease coil like a sleeping snake. He pushed food around his plate, then set his spoon down. "What's wrong?" the boy asked. "Nothing," the rancher said. "Just thinking." "About them?" "About you." The boy lowered his gaze. "I make things worse." "You make things honest," the rancher said. "There's a difference." The boy didn't seem to believe him. He kept staring at the table. After a long silence he whispered, "This feels strange." "What does?" "Eating. Quiet. Being inside. Nobody yelling. Nobody watching me." The rancher nodded. "Takes time to get used to." "Does it ever feel normal?" "It can," the rancher said, though his tone held a memory he didn't share. The boy looked around the cabin, studying every corner as if testing whether the room would hold its shape. "It feels like I've been here before." The rancher stiffened. "You haven't." The boy's eyes flicked to him. "I don't mean with you. I mean the feeling. Like I know this place. It's just a cabin." "No," the boy said softly. "It feels like someone lived here who loved a child." The rancher's breath hitched. "You don't know that." "I can feel it." The rancher didn't argue. He stood, gathering the empty plates. "Let's clean up." The boy watched him for a moment before speaking again. I like being here, he said quietly. It feels safe. The rancher paused, then looked back at him. Outside, the wind fell still. Inside, something gentler filled the space between them. Supper had been simple. But the moment felt like the start of something neither of them could name. Supper had been simple, but the moment felt like the start of something neither of them could name. The rancher wiped the table slowly, letting the boy's words settle in the quiet. Safe. It had been a long time since that word belonged in this house. Longer still since it belonged to someone small. The boy stood near the stove, watching him with wide, uncertain eyes. The morning light slipped through the cracks, soft and pale, brushing over the boy's face like a gentle hand. The rancher felt something shift inside him, subtle at first, then steady, like a door opening after years stuck shut. You're sure you ate enough? The rancher asked. The boy nodded. Yeah. You tired? A little. You can rest again. The boy shook his head quickly. Not yet. Not until I know you're staying in the room. I told you, the rancher said. I'm not going anywhere. The boy came closer, steps small, almost fragile. You mean it? I do. The boy studied him, searching for cracks in his voice. When he found none, he relaxed a little, though fear still lingered in the corners of his expression. The rancher set the plates aside, then turned back toward him. Sit, he said gently. The boy climbed into the chair, curling his legs under him, hands fidgeting with a thread on his sleeve. What happens now? Now we figure things out. Like what? Like how to keep you safe. And how to make sure they don't come near you again. The boy lowered his gaze. They always come. They won't get through me. Why do you care so much? The boy whispered. The rancher hesitated. He'd been asking himself the same question since the moment he cut the boy from the fence. He sat across from him, leaning forward with his elbows on the table. Because you didn't deserve what happened, he said. And because someone should have helped you a long time ago. The boy blinked back something wet. You don't even know me. No. But I know you're worth saving. The boy's throat bobbed as he tried to swallow the emotion rising in him. I never had someone say that before. The rancher looked down at his hands, rough and scarred. Maybe it's time someone did. Silence wrapped around them again, but it wasn't the heavy, frightened kind. It was softer. Warmer. The boy shifted in his seat, staring at the rancher with a strange, hopeful uncertainty. Can I stay here? He whispered. For now, yes. For a long time? We'll see, the rancher said, though his voice carried more promise than hesitation. The boy nodded, shoulders dropping slightly as though a weight had eased. He looked around the cabin again, then back at the rancher. Do you miss your child? The rancher's breath caught. Every day. The boy's voice softened. I'm sorry. The rancher nodded. Thank you. The boy slid off the chair and walked around the table until he stood beside the rancher. He tugged lightly at the man's sleeve. Can I sit with you? Of course. The boy climbed onto his lap the way a child might, carefully at first, then with growing trust. The rancher wrapped an arm around him to steady him. The boy rested his head against the rancher's chest, breathing slow and deep. You're warm, the boy whispered. You're tired, the rancher replied. Maybe a little. The boy paused. Can I ask something? Go ahead. Can I stay, even if they come back? Yes, the rancher said without hesitation. The boy closed his eyes. And you'll protect me? With everything I have left. The boy exhaled, a soft, trembling breath. He lifted his head slightly, looked the rancher in the eye, and whispered a single word, small, fragile, and shaking with hope. Papa. The rancher froze. The boy's face tightened with fear. Sorry. I didn't mean. It's all right, the rancher said, voice thick. You can call me that. The boy's eyes filled with warmth. He leaned into the rancher again, holding on as though the world outside had finally lost its teeth. And for the first time in years, the rancher held someone who needed him, really needed him, as the morning light spread across the room like a quiet blessing.